As she looked at them, she noticed something strange happen. Their eyes began to glow so brightly, filling the room with its light. Udoka watched in amazement as the voice spoke to her again, revealing that her babies were blessed with extraordinary powers, a power that no one had ever seen. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful woman who lived with her husband in a very small village. Her name was Udoka, and she was heavily pregnant with child. Her husband Ekene loved her so much and did everything to ensure that she was comfortable. But tragedy struck one night when he was violently killed by some unknown men. This happened on the night when Udoka gave birth to her twin babies. Some strange men barged into their house and took the babies away. Her husband fought the men off as he tried to take his babies from them, but the men plunged a huge knife in his stomach, killing him instantly. Udoka, weak and helpless, watched as the strange men took her babies away. Her husband lay there lifeless as she screamed at the top of her voice for help. By the time the villagers arrived, the men had already gone with the babies, leaving Udoka in misery. All efforts to find the men proved abortive as Udoka mourned not only the death of her husband but also the disappearance of her children. Months passed and Udoka, now a widow, could not get over the terrifying incident. She constantly had nightmares where she saw the strange men killing her husband over and over, and this made sleeping at night difficult for her. One night, whilst Udoka was returning from the village market, she heard a loud scream coming from the bush nearby. Udoka rushed to check who it was and saw a young boy who just fell from a tree, screaming in extreme pain. Udoka rushed to help the boy when suddenly she noticed that the boy's injuries began to heal. She stood there shocked as she wondered how this was possible. The young boy, also confused, thanked her as he ran off into the village. Udoka had never experienced this before as she returned home confused. Immediately she walked into her hut. She heard a voice which told her to run. Udoka looked up in confusion as she began to hear some footsteps outside her house. She peeped out of her window and saw the strange men again who were trying to gain access into her home. Udoka ran out of her house through the back door. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her as the men ran after her in pursuit. Udoka could not understand why the strange men were after her. However, she knew that it was for no good, so she kept running till she heard the strange voice again, which told her to hide behind a certain tree. Udoka listened to the voice as she hid behind the tree. The men arrived at the tree and searched. They stood in front of her but couldn't see her. Udoka became invisible as she stood there quietly and watched the men who thought that she had escaped. After a few minutes, the men decided to return to where they had come from, and the voice told Udoka to follow them. Despite being terrified, Udoka obeyed the voice and trailed the strange men. She walked behind them as they returned to where they came from. Strangely, the men could not see her, despite the fact that she could see them clearly. After a few minutes, they arrived at a strange house at the outskirts of the village. Udoka had never seen the house before and wondered who could be living in the house. She walked into the house and saw a woman carrying her twin babies. Udoka tried to approach the woman, but the strange voice warned her against doing so. It told her to wait and observe, and as she watched, she saw the woman transform into an evil-looking being, terrifying her babies who began to cry. Udoka tried to rush to her babies, but the voice urged her to be calm and patient. Despite raging in anger, Udoka trusted the voice and remained patient. She watched as the evil sorceress terrified her babies, who were now crying at the top of their voices. After a few minutes, the sorceress walked out of the hut, leaving the babies all alone. The voice then commanded Udoka to pick up her babies and run, and Udoka listened to the voice as she grabbed her babies and began to run. The sorceress, on noticing that the babies were gone, began to search the entire place for them. She performed several rituals but could not find the babies, owing to the fact that they were being protected by another powerful force. Udoka ran as fast as she could with her babies. The voice warned her never to approach her house, as doing so would lead to her death. The voice directed her to a small hut by the mountains and told her to stay there for the night. Udoka listened to the voice and sought shelter in the abandoned hut. She was so happy to be finally reconnected with her babies, who were taken away from her on the night of their birth. As she looked at them, she noticed something strange happen. Their eyes began to glow so brightly, filling the room with its light. Udoka watched in amazement as the voice spoke to her again, revealing that her babies were blessed with extraordinary powers, a power that no one had ever seen. Udoka's twins did not only have the power to protect those around them, they also had the ability to think anything into existence. This was why the sorceress came after them to steal their unique powers, as she planned on using the powers to fulfill her evil desires. Udoka vowed to protect her babies with all of her heart, because she knew how desperate the sorceress was to have them. The next morning, Udoka decided to move out of the village to a faraway place, hoping that the sorceress would be unable to find them there. As they journeyed to the faraway land, the sorceress tracked them down and tried to take the babies from her. Udoka, filled with rage, began to scream aloud and noticed that a huge water began to pour out from her mouth, flooding the ground around her. The water surged forward, creating a powerful current that swept the sorceress away. What Udoka did not know was that she too was blessed with supernatural powers, which she passed on to her children at birth. However, the powers remained dormant until the night that she gave birth to her children. The presence of her children activated the power, which she never knew she had for all these years. It was then that Udoka remembered the young boy she healed in the bushes and began to wonder where her powers could have come from. The voice, which had remained with Udoka for all this while, spoke up again, revealing who she truly was. Udoka was the daughter of a very kind woman who was so selfless and diligent. Udoka's mother was so selfless that she helped anyone in need. One day, she came across an old woman who found it difficult to walk alone. Udoka's mother assisted the woman to her hut, not knowing that the woman was a very powerful woman. As a form of repayment, the powerful woman blessed her womb, as she knew that Udoka's mother was looking for a child. Her son died when he was only 5, and since then, she had been unable to conceive. So, the powerful woman blessed her with a child, which she made to be extremely powerful. That child was Udoka, who for all these years never knew that she had great powers. Udoka could not believe her ears. She looked at her children and knew that she had to protect them with all her might. The sorceress, although weakened by Udoka's powerful water surge, attempted to recover, and Udoka stood tall and firm, ready to defend her children. She then noticed her children's eyes glowing as they combined their powers with hers. United, Udoka and her children channeled their energy to dispel the sorceress once and for all. The ground beneath the sorceress opened as the earth swallowed her and vanquished her evil powers. Udoka, on seeing that the sorceress had now been defeated, thanked the strange voice for guiding her. She then went on to ask the voice who it was, and the voice revealed that she was her guardian angel, sent by the powerful woman to watch over her sons and herself. Udoka thanked the voice once more as she returned to her hut with her children. Udoka was filled with a mix of emotions as she wished her husband was there to see their handsome boys. After so many years, her sons grew into remarkable young men who used their extraordinary powers to better the lives of those around them. The villagers, who had once seen Udoka as a poor helpless widow, now referred to her as a very powerful woman. Her sons, with the ability to think anything into existence and protect the ones that they loved, became the guardians of the village as they protected the people from any harm. The lesson to be learned from this story is that even in the face of unimaginable adversity and loss, one can discover hidden strengths and abilities. The story reminds us that true strength often lies within, waiting to be awakened, and that by helping others selflessly, we can unlock extraordinary potential within ourselves and those we care for. I hope you enjoyed the story. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.